So, the first glitch that I want to show takes place right after defeating the first Jaeger during the prologue. From what I've heard, you have to actually win this battle for the glitch to occur. So, we beat this guy, his ally comes in, she knocks us out, and we get taken to the forest.
アネラスさん起きてアネラスさんうさぎさんとクムさんのぬいぐるみそっちにしようかにゃ昨日の夜に身につけていた武具は全部取られちゃったみたい
So, Anale said that they took all of our combat gear, but, well, what you want to do here to trigger the glitch is simple. Don't open the menu. Then we want to get into a fight. So we're going to fight this flower here. That's a weird sentence, but it makes sense. So pay careful attention to our damage outputs and how much damage we take in return. So we're doing a little over 800. And we're taking around 350, 360 damage in return. Okay, so remember that. I'm gonna go ahead and find another flower to battle. Where are you, flower? Not you. I need another flower. It's gotta be the same enemy for empirical purposes. Okay, here we go. There's another flower. So, before we fight this flower, we're gonna open our inventory and check things here. So, here, it says that we have no armor and we are only equipped with practice weapons. Our stuff is gone. And now that we've seen that our stuff is gone, we're doing damage as if our stuff was gone. So, this is actually, like, you'll see, like, notice how much damage these things do now. Yeah, they're doing a lot more. That's because the game properly acknowledges that we have no armor. So, basically, the prologue seems to operate on your mind makes it real. Your equipment is only gone if you think it is. And as long as you don't open the menu, and thus don't know that your equipment is gone, you will still have all of your equipment.
I'm invincible! Or am I?
Yeah, that quote's appropriate now. So, it is kind of interesting. I feel like the reason why this must have been passed up in playtesting is because most playtesters, when they're told your equipment is gone, will naturally go into the menu to check and see that their equipment is indeed gone. And if you do that, then the game remembers to remove yourself. I feel like the way that this is handled is that the moment you open the menu, that's when the game runs the script to say, remove your equipment. But if you don't open the menu, it never runs that script, and so you get to keep your weapons and armor for this entire segment. So, if you want to get through this place easily on Nightmare, just don't open the menu at all until the end of the forest. And it'll still act like you have all of your equipment. So, kind of a weird glitch, and actually a pretty useful one, if only for one area in the game. So, I'm here in Nebel Valley at the very end of Chapter 5, right before we're about to enter the Ancient Dragon's Dwelling, to show off one particular glitch. So, as a recap, as we approach the cave, we get a cutscene here where... oh, don't mind the voice patch, you'll just hear bits of Japanese here and there. Where you send Sieg to inform General Morgan that you're entering the Ancient Dragon's Dwelling. Also, Sieg sounds really weird with the voice patch. Okay, and so after you've seen that cutscene, you'll go in here, and everything happens as normal. However, we're going to go and reload our save file from about here, and I've set my field turbo rate to ×6 speed. So I'm going to hold the turbo button and the run button, and if this works, we're gonna dash right through the cutscene trigger. Okay, there we go. So, we just skipped that cutscene. And because of that, things are gonna be a little bit weird at this point. So, I said during the playthrough that this game is very well made. Generally speaking, you won't be able to progress the story if you don't hit the right plot triggers. Hitting that cutscene where you send out Sieg at the start of the Ancient Dragon's Dwelling is required in order to actually activate the later cutscenes in the Ancient Dragon's Dwelling. So, there's gonna be another cutscene that's supposed to play when you go up the mountain, where it cuts to General Morgan on the Arsail, where he's talking to, I think it's Julia, where they discuss your progress throughout the cave and what to do in case you fail to stop the dragon. That cutscene is not going to play, because we skipped the cutscene at the beginning of the area. And what that all leads to is, something special is going to happen once we actually get to Ragnar himself. Okay, so here is the big cave entrance. We're supposed to fight Ragnar once we go through here, but as you can see, there's no cutscene. And if we keep going forward, yep, double Ragnar all the way across the sky. Also, yeah, I can't move through here because Ragnar's hitbox is massive. Like he's blocking me right there, and oh, I thought I was completely stuck for a second. But yeah, Ragnar has this really, really big hitbox that it's kind of easy to get stuck in. Am I? Yeah, I'm not stuck there, but I almost was stuck. Yeah, so and I can't go through here. Yeah, his hitbox is kind of enormous. I'm not sure which of these two Ragnars is the one that's actually exuding that hitbox, but yeah, there's. I don't know if, like, one of these is the Battle Ragnar and one of them is the Ragnar from the cutscene. I actually think one of these Ragnars is the Ragnar from the Weissman cutscene at the start of Chapter 5, and not hitting that trigger means the game hasn't deloaded that version of Ragnar yet. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on, but it does look pretty cool. So, in order to actually progress things, what we need to do is we need to climb back down the mountain and hit that cutscene trigger properly this time. Because the cutscene trigger is still there, and once we touch it, it'll be gone. But it's just waiting for us back down the mountain. It's just saying, come on, come back and do the plot properly. So, the reason why this bug exists is that Turbo Mode was added to the Steam versions and was not part of the original version of the game, so obviously the game was not originally playtested with Turbo in mind. But it doesn't really break anything, surprisingly enough. There's no sequence break, because none of the later cutscene triggers will occur if you haven't hit the ones preceding them. It's just kind of an interesting insight into the way that a lot of RPGs handle these kind of things. I mean, I kind of experienced this myself when I dabbled in RPG Maker a long time ago. You basically have to create triggers like this in order to make your, I think this is the wrong cave, actually. No, we can go through this way. The enemy encounters are still active here, by the way. But as I was saying, yeah, with RPG Maker you have to make a lot of event flags and make sure that people can't hit the event flags in the wrong order and cause weird things to happen, as you no doubt have seen if you are familiar with RPG speedruns with some games. Like, I think it's Mario & Luigi Paper Jam, you can beat that in like less than an hour by skipping certain triggers. But anyway, if you go back out here, yeah, we've actually hit the cutscene trigger this time. So it doesn't really matter what direction you approach the cutscene trigger from. But now that we have hit that trigger, I'll just skip the rest of this cutscene. So everything should be fine now. Yep, heading out that particular cave will trigger the cutscene in Bo's airspace, so everything should be fine, and the game is not soft-locked if you save after skipping that trigger. So, yeah, like I said, this is actually a pretty well-made game overall in terms of glitchiness. You can only temporarily cause the game to freak out and get the plot stuck, but if you go back and hit the cutscene trigger correctly, everything is fine. And just as a proof of concept, you will still fight Ragnar once you get to the top of the mountain, so everything is fine again. So I've heard that another point you can trigger this glitch at is when entering Genis Royal Academy at the end of Chapter 1. The problem with this is, if you don't get the glitch, you have to sit through a very long series of cutscenes. But apparently if you do this, you enter a kind of phantom version of Genis Royal Academy where none of the NPCs are interactable. Let me see if I can actually do this. Unlike the other one, I've never actually seen video footage of this one in action, so I have no frame of reference. That did not work. Aha, I think I actually just did it. Okay, so yeah, I turboed through that gate, and here we are in the Phantom Genus Royal Academy. It doesn't look like there's anyone here. No, there are people here. But yeah, we can't talk to them, even though the talk prompt is there. So yeah, I guess every conversation with NPCs in this place is locked behind that event trigger happening. I guess that's probably because you're supposed to talk to them when you only have Estelle and Chloe in the party, so there's no real dialogue for them not reacting to Chloe. But yeah, Dean Dumbledore is still here. We can't speak to him, though. Kinda surprised I got that on only my second attempt. But anyway, let's see if Jill and Hans are where they're supposed to be. Okay, so this still works. You just can't talk to her, but we can still use the shop. So I guess talking and using shops are considered different mechanics. So that's actually kind of interesting. I sort of expected that the shop would still be available. I mean, we've seen back in the first game that shops are still available even when the shopkeeper is invisible. But yeah, like, there's nothing that we can really do in here. Yep, there's that guy. Can't speak to him. I want to see what happens if you try and go into the old schoolhouse. I'm guessing you can't get in there. Okay, well, the gate is locked, so text is still there, but yeah, we don't get the key to that until we actually play through the plot. So, like the other one, I'm guessing that if you backtrack and hit that plot trigger the correct way this time... Yeah, there we go. That looks kind of silly, but yeah, this is actually the cutscene, and once we see this cutscene... Oh, by the way, I still want to let this play out because...
なんでも学園祭の劇に出演したらしいじゃないか。
あ、ナヤル先輩に聞いたよ。エステルちゃんたちが騎士で、ヨシュアくんがお姫様だったでしょ。あー、写真撮りたかったな。
何？それは本当かい？おお、なんたることだ。ヨシュア君の派手姿を見逃すとは。何としても彼を見つけて、もう一度来てもらわなくては。
はあ、干渉に浸ってるのがバカバカしくなってくるわね。
I just wanted to show that moment voice acted. But anyway, so hopefully... Yeah, we can talk to people now. Oh, looks like that's not voice acted, so only some NPC conversations are in the voice patch, it seems. But yeah, everything should work from here on. Just like the other one, once you hit the right event trigger, everything's back on track again. It's just kind of interesting that this thing can occur. So that's originally as far as I planned to go with the glitch exhibition, until someone in the comments told me the skipping cutscene glitch can be used for something really hilarious at another part of Neville Valley. So, you remember these guys here? If you try and go past, they say this area is off limits to civilians. That's because Joshua and the Sky Bandits rampaged through there at the beginning of the previous chapter. But, with proper application of Turbo, we can defy their regulations and get in. And as you can tell by the music, we are now in the Joshua segment at the start of Chapter 4. We can go in here, the guards are still unconscious. There's nothing in here for us, but if you go in here, yeah, the chests that Joshua opened stay opened. So that's pretty cool. This technically would give you another chance to get the chest if it weren't for the fact that we're now stuck, and you'll see why later. Or are we? Before we move on, I decided to experiment a little bit more with this glitch. What happens if you try and go out after you've already been in? Well, it still thinks we're in that Joshua segment, so we're at nighttime Neville Valley with these guards both unconscious. But we can freely explore. This area was cutscene only previously, and there are still enemies here. Let there be light! Wow, you can really get shining palms here? That's interesting. But yeah, it magically becomes daytime for encounters, and the music changes, but Yep, we're back to nighttime once the encounter ends. Wow, I'm getting really lucky with Shining Palms at a moment where it does not matter at all. So what we're going to do here is we're going to try and just go out of Neville Valley and see if we're completely screwed. Speaking of completely screwed, this may end horribly, but what happens if you try and enter Wemler's hut? I'm going to save first. Okay, your dialogue's fine, and I'm guessing... Yeah, doing that actually fixes it. We're back at daytime and back during Chapter 5. The other way to fix this is to exit that segment of Neville Valley. We're now back to daytime, and I think everything is okay from here on, where we should be back in Chapter 5, but I may want to do a little bit of research to see if we've screwed up anything else by doing this. Okay, so coming up relatively soon, there's going to be a door, and something funny will happen when we examine it.
どうやら食事中みたいだ。しばらく動かないだろうし、このまま通り過ぎよう。
Estelle does her best edgelord Joshua impression. I've got to say, it's pretty good. So we're going to set our tactics before we go up the stairs at the end of the hideout, because there's still something waiting for us, although it may not look that way at first. So, it doesn't seem like there's much here, but the Bobcat is still here. If we examine it... Get ready for Estelle's one-woman show.
気づかれたか。空賊ども。いつの間にこいつらが隊長たちを気絶させたのか。
仕方ない。
おねんねしてなよ。
Complete with costumes! So, we still do this fight. We can still face these Royal Army soldiers, and they're kind of pathetic, so, yeah, they're not even doing that much damage to Tita. So, yeah, that fight is over.
一丁上がりだね。
すぐに後続が来
And
るはずだ。
also Tita and Chloe are
ここで
gone.
食い止めるから、あなたたちは発進準備を頼む。
おお。任せときな。
ジョゼット、君は行かないのか？
山猫号の発進なら兄貴たちがいればできるさ。
And so, our guest enters the stage.
改めて名乗らせてもらおう。帝国軍第7機構師団所属ミュラー・バンダール少佐だ。
気をつけて。一筋縄じゃいかなそうだ。
君ほどではないと思うがな。行くぞ。
This certainly isn't a normal fight. We can actually face against Major Vanda with the Chapter 5 party by doing this glitch. And I was expecting this fight to be quite tough because he's roughly the level that Joshua is at this point, which is like early 70s, and we're in the early 60s. But it turns out that I think, because this is a fight you only do with 2 party members, his stats seem to be set pretty low for his level because he's actually not that difficult for this party. I was really surprised. So anyway, let's go ahead and show this fight. Tita is the one at most risk here. In fact, he can basically one-shot her, which is kind of a problem, and I want to get him off that critical turn as soon as possible. But yeah, Tita's actually doing pretty solid damage considering that he's over 10 levels higher than her at this point. So yeah, pretty sure they did just set his stats very, very low for his level to make this fight actually beatable as well. I almost said solo Joshua, but let's not kid ourselves. It really is solo Joshua because Josette is just useless in this fight. but he's certainly a lot more manageable with a full party. So let's go ahead and buff Agate and get him going. I could have used Love for it instead of Morale, but it doesn't really matter all that much. He's still taking quite a bit of damage. Now that's something you probably won't see in the Joshua fights. That is actually AoE, just like it is when Mueller joins the party in the final chapter. This is your only instance of him being able to hit 3 people with it as an enemy. And yep, this works on him. So let's stack this fight even more in our favor. It's got a pretty wide area on it too. The temptation to add T to unload her S-Craft on this guy is very, very high, but we're going to hold off for now. Might want to save her stuff for a little bit later. Especially since I need to Vital Cannon a bit, because Mueller still hits pretty hard. Even when he's strength debuffed, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess his defense must just be pretty low. His strength is still pretty high. And yeah, Blue Impact's probably the most efficient magic to use against him at this point. Yeah, he's already down to half, so this fight goes a lot faster with a full party, as you can see. I was expecting this to be like this super secret glitch super boss, but no, he actually turned out to be kind of a joke. He'll be a joke in more ways than one later, but I won't spoil that. I'll just say for now, and I actually used the wrong S-Craft here, Beatdown 2 I think is stronger, but oh well. I'll just say for now, the person in the comments who pointed this out, they said that the game soft locks when you beat Mueller. A soft lock, for those not informed, is when the game technically hasn't crashed, but it's in a state where you can't do anything or make any meaningful progress. This person did not explain why the game soft locks, and I applaud them for that, because it really needs to be seen to be believed. You know what else needs to be seen to be believed? So, yeah, like I mentioned, Mueller is in the low 70s, so he's worth a lot of experience to a party in the low 60s. If only we could take these levels into the Ragnar fight. Sadly, Fate will have other ideas in store. Including something amazing you're about to see. Dark Battle Aura Josette.
どうしてあなたたちがそれを知っているのかを。
どうやら本気にさせてしまったようだな。ならば俺も全力で答えよう。
ちょっと
Who proceeds to become intimidated by her own newfound edginess and turn into Estelle again. And by the way, Agate's you can see Agate down there on the runway, and Tita. I think they're fused into one. So Kyle's fine, but where's Dawn? Also, this is amazing. Okay, so photo op is actually shutter chance in Japanese, which is a pretty common term there, but the localization makes sense. Also, there's Agate staring off into the distance blankly. So after this scene, I'll just leave you with this. Yep, that's what's happening. That's where we are right now. Where we are. And it's stuck like this, by the way. You have to reset the game. And honestly, this statue of Dawn that's conveniently placed to block Mueller for all eternity is probably a good thing, because if he wasn't here, we might revert back to Chapter 4, and that would be kind of bad and break things more. But anyway, thank you to Champion Beef for showing me these glitches in a speedrun. With the glitches out of the way, the next thing that I wanted to cover in this video is some attacks from the final few bosses that I never got to show during the main commentated run. These bosses actually have a pretty wide variety of moves, and some of them are very interesting, so enjoy. So there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is the Evolution opening for Trails in the Sky SC. I could not talk about this until now, and you'll see why once I play the opening. So as a fair warning, if you have not played this game or watched my playthrough, do not watch the following opening movie. With that out of the way, let's begin.
かすなせるけれど交差する頻度や見つめ合う瞳に同じ夢確かに映したたとえつまずいてもたとえ傷ついても飛び方を風翼にして声も届かない遠い場所で僕らきっと同じ空見上げているあの日出会う奇跡さえ今は信じられるわけなどいらないのだと惹かれ合う心が近くなるとき真実の道照らし出してゆく放たれた銀の矢貫かれた胸にこぼれ落ちる雫に誓おうたとえ苦しめてもたとえ傷つけても離さない結んだ絆求め合う心が一つに溶けて真実の道切り開いてゆく交差する銀の矢見つめ合う瞳に同じ夢確かに映した銀の矢が貫く胸あふれる想い駆り立てる約束の場所へたとえ苦しめても迷い傷つけても離さない結んだ絆はだからつまずいても何度傷ついても飛び立とう風翼にして火を受けて輝く金色の翼は空に描く命の奇跡を
Okay, so I'm gonna have to get a bit negative here, I'm sorry, but there is so much wrong with that opening that I don't know where to begin. So, firstly, it spoils pretty much every significant moment in the game. The part where I got the angriest of all was the spoiling Joshua and Estelle's scene on the beach. Why would you spoil that? I mean, come on. It even, practically starts with Joshua versus Luve at the top of the Axis Pillar, which is one of the last bosses of the game. Number 2. You might have noticed the conspicuous absence of a few characters. Zin and Agate are not in that opening at all, and I don't think Kevin is either. So, why? It's so bizarre. You'd think from looking at that Tita, Olivier, and Shara and Chloe are the only people who accompany Estelle for the whole game. Number 3, although the original opening does subtly hint at Ren being an enforcer if you look in the right place at one certain frame, this one blatantly spoils it. Number 4, the animation is kind of dodgy. This is especially notable at the start when Joshua's stigma on his arm looks really, really bad. Number 5, the anime art style for the majority of the opening really clashes with the CG of the Arceal Glorious and Ragnar and Patamata they show a lot at the end. So much that it feels like two completely different openings mashed into one. Number 6, why so much focus on Ragnar, who's really only relevant in one chapter out of 10? Really, the one good thing I had to say about this opening movie is I don't mind the music. I think it's a decent alternate version of Silver Will Golden Wings. So, yeah, I think I'm not alone when I say I really, really don't like this opening. It was probably designed for people who'd already played the original game, but I don't think that's the right approach you should be taking for a remake. It'd be kind of like, I actually haven't seen what the actual opening of the Final Fantasy VII Remake is, but it would be kind of like if the Final Fantasy VII Remake's opening showed Aerith dying. The good news is, the third Evolution's opening is much, much better, and the Crossbell Evolution openings are also very good. So with that glitch showcase and rant about the EVO opening out of the way, that's all I want to cover in this video, so join me next time when we read the Gambler Jack books.